Well, I walk around and say this saying all the time, have fun and get her done. And I don't want anybody to work. If they're not happy at my place, I want them to go find a place they're happy because we spend a lot of time working, right? I want them to have fun and I want them to get it done.
Welcome back to another episode of the Missoula Podcast in the new Missoula Podcast studio. Stephen Russett, how are you, my man?
I'm well.
Jess Nepstad, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Dude, thanks for joining us.
Appreciate being invited and look forward to doing it.
Yeah, excited for this conversation. Let's just dive into your story. What originally brought you to Missoula?
Well, originally brought to Missoula, I grew up in the state. I grew up in Livingston, so I've come over for different sporting events. But the last time here permanently as a resident, I purchased a company, Planetary Design, 9 years ago. I commuted in to manage a business for about 6 years and then moved up to Missoula full-time about 3 years ago.
You were commuting from Livingston?
No, I was commuting from Los Angeles.
Oh, that's even further.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd come up and do about 10 to 14 days and then go back. So I could always have a weekend to goof off and, get some Montana fun in there. But that's how I managed it for 6 years.
And
tell us about what it was like growing up in Livingston. What was childhood like?
I'm very grateful growing up in the time that I did. I think it was one of those, you had to be home by dark and nothing was off limits as long as you got home by dark. And Montana, Livingston's right in the middle of, you got the Yellowstone River, all the creeks and the mountains right there. I didn't know that it wasn't windy elsewhere. So I just thought wind was part of the situation for everybody. But it was a great time to grow up there. It was before all the money showed up and it was fabulous. I had a horse and had a motorcycle and a bicycle. So as a kid, you could, one of those three modes of transportation would get you to any kind of trouble you wanted.
when in your life did you realize Livingston was a special place? It was unique that you had something there.
Had a couple jobs when I was like in middle school. One was working on a ranch down in the Paradise Valley, and this rancher just kind of let me, he taught me how to swath and drive truck and do all those things, and just the freedom of being down there and listening to the Western Metal Arc and watching the water just cold and crisp and coming out of the Absorkis. That really probably just put it in my heart. And then probably after you leave, then you realize what a special place it was. But, I'm so grateful I grew up when I did. And, we didn't have phones distracting us, just be home by dark. You had everybody's phone number memorized in your head, and anywhere you wanted to go, you could go.
What did your parents do for a living? How did they make a living in Livingston?
I moved to Livingston. I think I was probably 5 or 6. My folks got divorced. I originally started growing up for 5 whole years on a ranch in Big Timber. My folks divorced. My mom moved to Livingston. She had various jobs. I was just living with her. And she ended up marrying a gentleman that ended up being a really wonderful mentor in my life. And he was a brand inspector. So I rode, that's a really, another part of my story is I'd load up my horse with him and we'd go on all these ranches and inspect cows. And so all these big, beautiful ranches around Livingston, I got to go on and kind of thought I was a big deal because I was with the brand inspector and everybody was, acknowledging him. And I just rode along as a dumb kid. But, then after she divorced him, my mom started traveling as a traveling salesperson. And the town of Livingston, I always tell this story, took care of me. I mean, the Clintons used to say, it takes a village of Livingston between coaches and teachers and neighbors. My mom wasn't around from 13 on, so I was just kind of soloing around and getting through school. And my dad was over in Bozeman, so there was at least somebody that could come over if my mom wasn't around. But it was a real free time, real independent time, and great experience, I think.
Looking ahead at your future, like during that era, what was the dream? What did you want to become? What did you want to be when you grew up?
So, I've always envied those people that say, I wanted to be a doctor and they knew, or I wanted to be an engineer. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. But I had this silly idea in college is like, I wanted to be the guy with a briefcase. So that'll tell you how old I am. A briefcase. And I wanted to get on planes and go do deals.
Yeah.
And I ended up working in corporate America for Nestle for 18 years as a, vice president. And I flew around with a briefcase and a Toomey bag and I was looked at myself and thinking, why did I want to do this? Because the glamour of travel sure eroded quickly. And but that's what I did for 18 years flying around.
What does the vice president of Nestle do?
I was one, they're big. There's 20,000 employees in the United States. I was technically a divisional vice president. So I managed all kinds of different channels or segments for them in the food service arena. So at one time I was in charge of all, like the coffee made creamer you see in convenience stores, anything that you were going to eat in the store that Nestle sold, I was in charge of. I ran their office coffee service and vending division for a while. I managed club stores for a while, which would be Costco, BJ's, and Sam's. So I had all kinds of different jobs, and I had no idea that everything they were giving me trained me for the company that I bought. So it was wonderful, haphazard. Just they'd tell me to go fix something, and I'd go fix it, and then they'd say, "Well, you go fix this," and all that learning just kept the job interesting, kept me there for 18 years for sure, and then just prepared me to buy this company here.
Where were you located at when you were working for Nestle? Where did your journey take you?
Yeah, I just ended up there. Nestle was a client, and I worked on selling them stuff for like 3 years. Never sold them anything, but yet they hired me. So that tells you I don't know what kind of sales guy I am. But I came in and knew product development and all that in their corporate office. They had a corporate U.S. headquarters in virtually Los Angeles, Glendale, California, and then I lived about 45 miles from there, so I had quite a commute. But my whole Nestle career, I worked out of their corporate office. Then they moved to Virginia. So
what?
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, after high school, where'd life take you? Where'd you go to school?
26 miles to Bozeman.
Ooh, cats.
Yeah, cats.
Really?
I never looked at the Grizzlies. I had a basketball tryout at Tech and a basketball tryout at Eastern, which is now Billings MSU or something. And then I ended up going to Montana State and did 4 years there.
And what'd you go to school for?
Well, see, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I tried to pick the most general, degree, business management. So I was like, I have no idea what I want to do. So I just picked this broad category, and that's what I got a degree in, was business management.
So in all your business experience, did your degree help you in any of what you do or have done in your career?
Oh, you got to think there was some help or benefit. I hope there was. I had 4 good fun years. I'll tell you, I had a great time. Sure. The Bobcats were pretty good then, so we had a good time with that. But statistics and econ, I think, helped me a little bit. I think the management, they were just figuring out what computers were going to do, and but I think more of an impact in my business, my business thing, was watching my parents. My dad was an independent businessman. My grandparents were independent business people. My mom started 3 or 4 businesses while I was, banging around as a kid. So I think that had a bigger impact than just watching people start something from nothing, or, buy something and try to turn it around. So that was probably a better education.
What was the transition like from Bozeman to LA?
Oh, it's brutal. You grow up in Montana and you know everybody, right? And at college, you knew everybody. You go to the supermarket, you'd see everybody, you know the checker or whatever. And, Bozeman at the time was probably right around 30,000 people. Then you moved to LA, that was probably 12.5 million in that greater area. And I remember being stuck in just dead traffic on the 405, which is still one of the busiest freeways in the country. I'm like, there's not a single person here that knows me. There's not a single person here that cares about me. And then if I died right here, the car stalled out, or the car stalled, or I died, or whatever, everyone just would be more mad at me. Nobody would give a flip. They just would be mad that I was blocking up traffic. So it took years to get a little network of people that that were buddies. So, but I found the Montanans. We didn't have Facebook to track everybody down, or cell phones. You just kind of had to find out and figure out where they were. But I hung out with a guy from Billings, a guy from Broadus, a guy from Columbus, and we just kind of all.
How Montana guys find each other in Los
exactly.
Angeles?
Just rumors, or you hear that they're there, or somebody would say, "Hey,
wild.
yeah, you think." Yeah, and so we just kind of found each other, and that was our little core of group. And then I coached basketball down there and had another job, so I just tried to meet people as fast as I could. But it was really humbling and centering at the same time. You really had to figure out who you were and get gregarious and meet people and try to find some fun folks to have some good times with, because there's a lot to do. You just, who are you going to do it with if you don't know anybody?
Right.
What were you doing for fun outside of, moving up the corporate chain? What were the hobbies looking like? What were your passions? How does a Montana guy make it in LA?
The best thing, I worked, and then I was like, what am I doing with all this free time? So I called around and asked a bunch of high school coaches if they needed somebody to shag balls, and I ended up getting the JV coaching job. So basketball was part of it. And then the head coach was a big biker and an ultimate Frisbee player, and he got me into both of those. And I fell in love with ultimate Frisbee. I played that as hard as I could for 10 years till the shoulders were gone and the neck was gone and everything else was toast. But yeah, that was probably my favorite part of California, playing ultimate Frisbee.
Where does your journey come to the point where you say, okay, maybe the corporate life isn't where I want to be, or working for somebody else? Like, walk us through that season where the transition started to become a reality.
Well, I think when I first went on to Nestle, my whole goal was I'm going to work here 3 years, learn it, and get out. And every 3 years, they seemed to kind of get an idea that I was getting happy feet, so they'd give me another job. So they kind of just kept me, and that job always looked interesting. Oh yeah, I'll do that one. And then they just kind of kept pulling me along. And then, my wife and I had kids, so then the golden handcuffs are there and everything. And then as you get your kids to that point where you're like, okay, what now do you want to do? I closed in on 50 years old, and I've been there at 18 years. And I think Nestle was tired of me, and I was kind of tired of Nestle. So mutually, we kind of came to an agreement that it'd be a great time to leave. And so when I was almost 50, they offered me a package. It was really good. And I said, sure. My wife and I had lunch and celebrated, and just knew that there was a new chapter, and I knew I needed to go do something new and kind of get another charge in your life, if you will.
Jess, where along the way did you meet your wife? Is that Bozeman, LA?
Well,
how'd that come to
that's
be?
a funny story too. I was coaching high school basketball and came in to this restaurant bar wearing Wranglers and cowboy boots, and with a bunch of parents and coaches, and my wife literally picked me up in the bar. She came over, sent a friend over to ask me how old I was and my name and everything, and turned around and saw how attractive she was. And I said, well, shoot, that wouldn't be a bad deal. So just to brag a little, my wife was the reigning Miss California at the time.
All right.
So she looked pretty good.
Yeah.
And turned out she was, this was February. And by May, we were engaged, and by October, married. And we were married 32 years before she passed with cancer. So good run for sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Good run.
So at the end where you and your wife are having lunch and a new chapter's coming, what are the options on the table, and what the heck are you going to do with your life at that point? 50 years old.
50 years old. Well, I had a year severance. So for the first month, I just did all the projects that I wanted to do. So I built some horse corrals and finished the chicken coop, and which people go in Los Angeles. We lived outside LA, so we had a couple acres. So everything that all of my project honeydew lists, I had to get quick that I did. And while I was doing them, I was trying to figure out, what I was going to be when I grow up. And so I started a online jewelry business, did that for 2 years, knew nothing about jewelry. And I ended up selling it to my partner, because towards the end of the second year, a couple Grizzly guys called me from Missoula and said, hey, there's this company for sale. You might want to take a look at it. And they sent me the products. And so I kind of changed directions, because the company was Planetary Design here in Missoula, and it was around coffee and the outdoors. And I was like, that seems a lot more fun to me than jewelry. I did jewelry just because it was different and I needed to just try something different. And so I sold it to my partner, who's I talked to today, my ex-partner, who still runs part of that jewelry business. And I came up to Missoula and looked at the company and bought it with 2 former Grizzly players, so Bobcats and Grizzlies can get along.
Good to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, right. It's hard to know.
It's the fans. The fans don't get along, apparently.
The fans don't. So we got along, and we bought this company about 9 years ago. But, along the way, my wife was the biggest cheerleader. She says, just do something that you want to do. And when it came to Montana, she says, oh, that'd be great if you bought a company in Montana, because you can go as much as you want. and I don't have to go every time, because when I lived in LA, anytime I'd get a break or, family vacation, everyone would say, where do you want to go? I'd go home to Montana, and kids would say, hey, I want to go to Disney World. I'm like, I want to go to Montana. So I drug my family and kids up here as much as I could.
So it never got out of your system. You just were always wanting to come back.
Always wanted to be back. Always did my heart good to be here. So I guess once it's in you, it's hard to get out.
So at that season of life, coming back to Montana, did it feel like a total reset? I mean, just like a restart to a new season, new chapter. What was the emotion of coming back to Montana?
I think the number one emotion would have been just comfort, like coming home right after a hard day or whatever. LA's got, California's 36 million people or 38 million people, and it's about roughly the same geographical area as Montana, right? Montana's just a little smaller geographically, and we got 1 million people. So just accessibility and not having people on top of you. And I love people, but when I want to recreate, and I don't want to have to book a campground 12 months in advance. I want to just go camping or go hiking or floating or whatever.
Jess, do you ever find yourself complaining about traffic in Missoula?
No. And I giggle and everybody goes, oh, Reserve Street. It's like, please, this is the Reserve Street. Don't even talk to me about traffic.
Let's take a little bit of a pause. We'll do some rapid fire questions. Are you ready for it, Jess?
Sure.
First initial memory of Missoula, Montana.
State A championship basketball. Park High School came to Missoula and played, all the other Park A, state teams, and got to play basketball here in the, you call it the field house. We call ours the field house. What do you call it?
Adams Center?
Adams Center. Sorry. Yes. Adams Center was my first real good memory of Missoula.
How'd your team do at state?
We blew them out of the water the first 2 games. We beat Whitefish in the semifinal. I can tell you I played a great game in the semifinal. And then we played Glendive in the championship, and we looked like we never picked up a basketball. Me at the front of that. I played one of my worst games of my life. So we ended up only getting beat by less than 10, but we shot 26% from the field. So, that's not very good. I was like 1 of 7 and played like garbage. So that haunted me for 10 years. I'm almost over it. The therapy
sounds like it's haunted you for about 40 years.
The therapy's working. Yeah, the therapy's working.
Yeah, that sticks in your mind, those big games.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
We're losing, you get that close. But anyway, that's Missoula's first experience for me.
Jess, here in Missoula, what is your favorite coffee shop?
Well, I see what coffee you're drinking there. I enjoy going into the break, but my favorite coffee is Drum Coffee for sure.
Drum solid. I like mixing it up. A lot of good coffee here in Missoula.
Very good. Yeah. I go into coffee shops. That's part of our business. So I've been in hundreds, and I don't know if I've been in thousands, but I can say hundreds of coffee shops in my travels. So down in Hamilton, I like Big Creek, and Bozeman, I like Ghost Towns. So I'm in a coffee shop all the time.
What is your favorite restaurant in Missoula?
Does it have to be in Missoula? Can I be outside? Poor Henry's down in Clinton is my favorite.
Poor Henry's in Clinton.
Yeah.
That is a Missoula podcast first.
Yeah. What do you order at Poor Henry's? I've never eaten there.
Oh, it's fabulous food, and it's just locals, and prices are pretty good, and I love the staff there, and it's just a little hole in the wall, but they put out some pretty good food. Prime rib on Friday and Saturdays is excellent. Their pizza's great. Their wings are great. I really like the people.
I like that.
Jess, what zip code do you live in?
59823.
59823.
Which is Bonner.
Bonner.
I'm right next to the old post office in Bonner.
So like one of those like white mill houses.
Yep.
Right in that area.
I bought one during COVID.
Oh, it's like so nostalgic. It's like the most beautiful little street in America.
It's a great little street. I could put a golf ball down at my front door, and it'll beat me to the back door. If it rolls into the bathroom, I got to hit a wedge to get it out of there. So it's a little slopey, and
that's awesome.
But it's a great little house. It's got good bones, and I like being there.
It's great. Jess, what to you is the weirdest part of Missoula?
Brooks, Russell, the way the streets are laid out. It's a big triangle, and it just, takes a while to get that figured out. I would say that's the weirdest part for me.
What do you love most about Missoula?
I can say as a cat, I had my nose turned up to Missoula and my bad experience at the Adams Center. But I like that it's 10 degrees warmer here than Bozeman. I like that the access to the rivers and the mountains it seems easier than Bozeman. and it's got a good vibe here. I really like this town, and I tell my buds in Livingston and Bozeman all the time, I like Missoula better now. Which even my dad in Bozeman, he's like, just gives me this big look, and I go, it's just, I like it better because Bozeman has changed so dramatically.
Sure.
Are you ever representing the maroon and silver?
That's not happened. Sorry.
No, not yet.
Yeah.
I've
Not quite converted.
I've only been to the Grizzly Stadium once, and that was for Tyler Childers last year. So, yeah, I have not converted, but I have dear friends that played there, and I root for them when the Cats are out. Or I'm a Montana guy, but I'll root for blue first, and then
okay.
Jess, has there been a particular book that has impacted your life more than any others?
Oh, for sure. Cider House Rules by John Irving. So I was a dumb college kid, thought everything was black and white, and that book really showed me there's a lot of gray.
Yeah.
So you think you know it all, and you think everything you know is right, and that book really said, hey, you got to turn the rock over because there's probably another side of the story, another way to look at it. So that book is fabulous.
Just want to dive into what you're doing now. So take us back to you're in LA, and you'd mentioned a couple former Grizz athletes reached out to you about a business opportunity in Montana.
Yeah.
How did that connection, an executive in LA and a couple of athletes, a couple of jocks in Montana, how'd that relationship start? And just take us through the journey of purchasing the business.
I'm afraid to run over. I'll try to make it as fast as I can without running it over. But I came to a Cat Grizz basketball game. I'm in Reds with two Cats, and one of them said, let's go across the street and have a beer with Ned Becker. I go, who's Ned Becker? He said he plays for the Grizz. He's a really nice guy. And he's a bartender. So we walk across the street, sit and have one beer with Ned Becker. And I'm with two other Bobcats, and they're all talking football, and I'm just having a beer. 8 years later, I'm in Southern California, and I make a sales call on Dole Foods, like the pineapple. And I'm sitting across from this guy, and I keep looking at him and thinking and looking at him. And finally looked at him. I said, were you ever a bartender in Montana? And he goes, I was. And I go, you're Ned Becker. I said, I had a beer with you. And he said, no way. I go, and I told him, and he was like, yeah, I remember the two guys, Cleet and Doug, but you were the third guy. And I go, that was me. And I remembered him. And from that point on, he and I were buddies. And he moved back to Missoula way before I did. And we just stayed in touch and always wanted to do business together. And we spent 20 years trying to figure out how to do business together. We enjoyed each other so much. And he's the one that got the call from the other Grizzly guy. And he says, well, if it's anything to do with coffee, and Jess has been in coffee forever and a day, let's call Jess. And that's really how it happened. But meeting Ned Becker and then meeting him 8 years later, that's just the beauty of karma, circumstance, whatever. My whole life has been that way. I get hundreds of stories of where that's happened.
What were the biggest challenges for your crew that buys this new company? You guys were working in businesses. Now you're becoming business owners. What was that transition like?
I think we all had entrepreneur spirits, and we were all ready to do it. The business was in really tough shape. It'd been losing $500,000 for countless years. Sales were flat. Designs were old. A lot of tension with the
So why'd you buy it?
Because the price was right. I think there was even a TV show called The Price is Right, right? And it was in coffee, and it was in Montana. And my wife said, it's in Montana and it's coffee. You can fix it. Just go do it.
Yeah.
And she was a great cheerleader to me. And I looked at the products, and I was like, they're all really terrific products. I've been in coffee for 30 years. I've never seen them. It just needs some energy. And that's really what we brought to the table, I'd say.
Was that the biggest challenge, was just getting it out to more people?
I think so.
Was it marketing and branding?
Pulling the team together that was pretty fragmented was a part of that. And I think finding better manufacturers. They had manufacturers, but finding better manufacturers, updating the designs, and then maybe looking at it more globally instead of local. And I think I always say you're looking at the top of your shoes. I think they kind of had that where they, looking at the top of your shoes instead of getting your head up and looking around, and I really think Nestle for, being a global company gave me global vision and great products that we've now taken across the globe. We ship all over the world, and we have distributors all over the world. And I think vision maybe was another big part of adding that to the mix.
Tell us about the business. What do you guys do? What are these products?
The business, it's really driven around coffee, and then the second aspect would be outdoors. So I'd like to say Bonner's out there where the Clark Fork and the Blackfoot come together. So we're kind of at the confluence of coffee and the outdoors. We have quite a few patents in our product line, but we really focus on storing coffee because coffee doesn't like oxygen, humidity, light, and time, UV light and time. So we've kind of taken that coffee storage into coffee brewing, and then we're into cannabis storage, paint storage, wine storage, but primarily 80% of our biz is coffee storage. I mean, that's our winner product, and that's the one that, the cash cow, so to speak, that gets us to where we're trying to go.
For those of you listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you might want to check out the YouTube channel. Jess brought in a couple of his products here that he's about to show us. So check out the YouTube channel so you can see these. But Jess, what do you have here? What are these? Walk us through. It's kind of like show and tell.
I just brought you a couple.
This is a first on the podcast.
Oh, really? So I didn't know if it was
show and tell.
acceptable. But
this is great. Yeah,
I'll leave them or
I love it.
Take care of you guys. But I brought in our number one product. It's called the Airscape. It was invented here in Missoula, which is another great story. A gentleman in town called Mark Porter, wonderful man. He invented the Airscape, and he dropped off the prototype at our new corporate office, which is below the Kettle House. So another reason to come out to Bonner and check us out. But his whole idea was, how do you force the air out of the canister that you're storing your coffee in? I don't know if they heard that over the mic.
Whoa,
that's cool.
That's got a patented plunger, and it forces the oxygen out of the canister.
So you just push it down all the way down to the grounds?
Push it all the way down to the grounds or the whole bean. And then there's got a little two-way lever, and you close that lever, and then you put the decorative lid on, and it sits on your counter. And we have a 1/2 pound, 1 pound, 2.5 pound, and a 5-gallon bucket lid. And we've taken that technology and put it into other products. But and then this is made out of stainless steel, so we put Drums logo on there. We put Big Creek Coffee Roasters logos on there. We sell them in Sur La Table, Williams-Sonoma, online. Sell them all over the world. I was in Greece and at a World Coffee Show, and a guy walked by and he says, "Oh, I got one of those." And I go, "Well, where do you live?" And he goes, "Istanbul." So it just, you makes your heart happy, because 10 years ago that would have never happened, and It's really been fun. So this is the Airscape.
Can I see that?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
The other product I brought in was Mark Porter also invented the first French press in an old big plastic jug that was called a whirly thing. I'm looking around to see if there's anybody in here old enough to remember this plastic whirly tumbler, but we all used to drink coffee out of the same big mug. And he drilled a hole in the lid and put a French press screen plunger in it, and that was called the Big Sky Bistro. And that we had that product when I bought the company, but people today don't like drinking out of plastic as much. So
fair enough.
We asked everybody what they liked about French presses and what they didn't like, and the answer was coffee gets cold fast, hard to clean, too many grits and grinds, and and we took all of those pinch points and just turned this into a product we call the Overlander. It's got a no-leak French press lid, which is pretty unique. We have a patented screen in there that once you push the plunger down, it stops the brewing, so it doesn't over-extract. And then the whiz-bang of this product is when you're done, and this is great for camping. When you're done, you just remove the bottom. So to clean the French press out, you just drop the grounds out like that, and you can put the grounds on a pine tree if you're feeling that's eco-friendly. But it doesn't require any paper filters, and you just heat up some water, and you can make some really nice coffee. And it's got 3 or 4 patents in here, and it's one of my favorite products. It's super slick.
It's fascinating.
So what's that like, being a part of a company that's literally inventing new technology and patents? Is that exciting?
Oh, it's it's just so much fun. And I'm a tinkerer and an innovator. And then we meet a lot of really smart people that come to us at trade shows and say, "Hey, I have this idea, but I got it patented, but I'm exhausted or I'm out of money, or I don't know what to do with it, or I want to go invent another product." And we've licensed a lot of products. So like that removable lid comes from a gentleman in Solon, Ohio, who ironically works for Nestle. And that's another one of those loop stories where I buy the company, I have no idea, and call him up and I go, "You work at Nestle?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, who do you work next to?" And his cubicle mate next door knows me. And I literally got that deal done in 30 seconds because he knew me, right? And then I met a gentleman that had an idea to insert argon gas into different products to preserve it, like when you get a bag of potato chips, right? It's either nitrogen flushed or argon flushed. And so he patented the idea. And so what we can do is I can use the Airscape and flush out 99% of the oxygen. And then with a 1-second blast of argon, now it's like I put it right back into the nitro flush bag. So it's
Crazy.
storing potato chips, storing cannabis. I could go on for an hour about cannabis. Works for wine, works for paint. So we've developed all these products. Now we got to catch up with marketing and sales, because some of these stuff we've got, and we just have to start getting them to move.
Sure.
But no, I love the innovation. I love coffee. I love the outdoors. So I'm very finally figured out what I want to do when I grow up, because it kind of hit me with.
That's got to feel good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So whew, get that one checked off.
Where do you spend most of your time? Like, what is your role in the business? Are you on the innovative side? Are you marketing? Are you production? All of the above?
I think my team would probably say I'm the seagull manager, where I fly in and shit all over everything and then fly out, because I like to be involved in everything.
I love that, the seagull manager.
Seagull manager. But I the innovation really,
Yeah.
But I probably spend more of my time now trying to share with, who we are as a company. I do a lot of these types of things. I mean, I shared with you guys before that we started the podcast, go out to DC and try to solve the problems we're solving. Spend a lot of time with the sales guys, because trying to cheer them up, keep them moving, keep them looking at things. But we're 20 people at our company, and I get to be involved in everything. So every day's different, and that's what I really like. And we got a great team of people, and it's fun to go to work every day.
What's manufacturing look like for these products?
Manufacturing, 99% of it's made in Asia, and we have 12 different factories we deal with over there. They're state of the art. I think when I first joined the company, I had this vision of what it might look like, but they're robotic, and the team, people that work there have basketball leagues, and it's a 40-year-old supply chain that is polished and ready to roll. And they all have engineers, and I mean, it's best class for sure.
What are some of the other challenges on running this business that were a little surprising to you?
COVID was a little, because when COVID rolled through, 65% of our business was with coffee shops, locals and national chains and regional chains, and they shut coffee shops down, as you remember. So I was panicked there, but the team, and we figured it out. Our Amazon business grew really well. Our online business grew, international grew. So it really helped us business shift and become healthier. We grew 50% one year and 65 the other. So,
wow.
And I thought we were done.
Right.
And then, 60 days into it, we found another way to grow.
Well, I'd imagine during that, you were also struggling with importing. Very difficult with all the backs up. Supply chain was all down or backed up.
Yeah, supply chain got really complicated, got expensive, and the team rallied, and we managed through it. And the third year of COVID is when that whiplash of the supply chain really got us, and we had like 2 months out of our number one product, and so that hurt sales. But overall, COVID really helped us, balance the sales mix, if you could say it that way.
Yeah.
And then now currently we're having a blast with tariffs. I say that facetiously, sarcastically, or whatever I'm supposed to.
Yeah. Walk us through your experience with that.
Well, the tariffs, we knew they were potentially coming. I just thought they'd be a little more targeted, a little more surgical in the way they rolled out, and maybe not so whimsical. That was the word I used in DC last week with Montana's folks that are on the Hill. I mean, I got to meet with the senators and the congressperson out there, their support team, but it's just tough to manage, because I have no idea when a container arrives in Seattle, I have no idea what we're going to be paying for it. It's, it's kind of like me changing your tax rate weekly and telling you it's due on the spot, and I might change it the next week, and you have no idea. So it's really tough to manage the business. One thing I'll say is my team wanted to pause bringing product in, and I was obstinate, and I said, well, I'm going down swinging. So they'll just keep ordering it and keep bringing it in. I don't care if it's at 145%. I don't want to run out of product, because that happened to me at the last year of COVID. So I've got product in my warehouse I paid $145 for. I paid tariff, 145%, 55%, 45%. So thankfully my sharp CFO, Alicia, will figure out what my true cost of inventory is, because I have no bloody idea. And we're not going to run out of product, but we're going to have to take pricing in July. So
I was just going to ask you, has that impacted pricing or?
Yeah, and we're going to take pricing 20% wholesale. That's significant. So it's going to cause some inflation, and there's a lot of byproducts, and we can get super political or whatever. But I mean, economically, it's going to cause some ripples here coming in the country. So like we had a shift from 65% of our sales mix being with roasters during COVID. We're shifting now, and I'm doing everything we can do. The team's doing everything we can to grow Canada. Our business is through the roof because we're shipping stuff straight to a 3PL warehouse in Canada. We don't even run it through the States. We got 6 containers, and we're arriving in the Netherlands last week and this week. I'm going to grow that whole business in Europe and looking to get on Amazon, India. I mean, I'm working on that paperwork. So we're going to try to change our sales mix. So 75% of our sales mix is international. And I got to do it as fast as I can.
Yeah. Question for you that bit off topic, more economics, entrepreneurial. If these tariffs were to go away, dropped, lowered, do you see price points, like a company like yours, bringing price points back down, or are price points going to stay where they are and just increase profit margins for companies? Like, is this the final outcome? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it depends on what category you're in. Okay. And for the category we're in, I think we're in the nice to have category, not the necessities. Like, right. I mean, it's going to be hard to bring drug prices down or whatever, right. Because if you need the drug, you're going to take the drug, but are you going to spend $50 for a French press, or at $40, do I have your attention? And so I'm worried about pricing elasticity for our products because, now my number one seller is going to go from $38 to $50. How many people do you lose? It's the guns and butter economic decision there. Right. So, if what we've done on our invoices, what we're going to do is we're going to have a line item like a gas surcharge. It'll be a tariff line, complete transparency to our customers or retailers. And when the tariffs go away, that line item's gone. I'm not going to have to redo 100 price lists, So that's
I like that. I admire that. I think the authentic, transparent.
Yeah. And that's really, how we're going to go at it. And that's how we did it during COVID. There was a line because we had containers went from 2,500 a container to 28,000 a container. So we had a little COVID line, and we said, as soon as the container price comes down, we'll go back to our original pricing. And our retail partners were awesome through that and really accepted and understood what we're trying to do. And we're going to do the same here with the tariffs and just have a line item. And we announced it yesterday, ironically. So July 20th, I think we'll take a 20% line item on tariffs, which is significant. Sure. We fight over pennies, during the manufacturing process. And we go, all right, if we had this nickel, thing on this product, it's going to cost the consumer ultimately 20 cents. So a nickel decision is a big deal for us because that moves the retail by 20 cents. And so, to just have a 145% tariff, I mean, it's blowing. And now I think the latest is it's back to 55. So, I'm just hopeful that by the time July 20th rolls around, if it's gone, I'll just erase it and life will move on.
Great news.
Yeah. If not, then I'll just have to roll it.
Yeah.
So
have you had a philosophy during your business career that's guided how you make decisions or how you've wanted to run your company?
I think it's the philosophy. I think Montanans probably pride themselves in just honesty, integrity, transparency, care, empathy. And I learned a lot of corporate America, maybe where you're one of 20,000 employees, you're maybe just a thing on the cog. And with my small company, I really like that it's much more intimate, that we can celebrate people, participate with people. Just circumstances, I'm going to lose 3 employees at the end of the month. One's had a baby and moving back closer to home, which I understand. One's retiring. He's been with me for 15 years. And the other one just got a great job opportunity. And so instead of being miffed or irked that they're leaving, we're having a big party. I just booked live music, and that would not happen in Nestle or other corporate Americas. But in my company, I want everybody to walk out smiling and glad they spent some time with us.
Just early on in your story, you mentioned that your stepdad was a huge mentor, influence in your life. What's one of the life lessons he taught you years ago that is impacting you still today?
Oh, geez, it make me cry. I have so many mentors that have helped me. With Dan Hoffman was his name. He just was so methodical, so strategic, and so full of integrity. Oh. And he was my stepdad for 7 years, but we were friends up until he died. Just watching him interact with people was just huge. And I just didn't know I was going to have that emotion. But yeah, really cool.
as no doubt that you mentor people in your business now, what are you hoping that the legacy of Jess and the impact that you make on others would be?
Well, I walk around and say this saying all the time: have fun and get her done. And I don't want anybody to work. If they're not happy at my place, I want them to go find a place they're happy, because we spend a lot of time working, right? 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I mean, it's a third of your life almost. And so I want them to have fun, and I want them to get it done. I mean, we can't just, we got to get the job done, but we got to have a good time doing it. And I like, one of my favorite things I like to boast about is most of the folks that are sitting behind a desk running a computer in our place, doing various jobs, whether it's purchasing or sales, or whatever. Most of them came through the warehouse or the print shop. And, you know, maybe they hadn't been given a chance to fly or, you know, get a better opportunity, or an opportunity that maybe fits them better. So I could go right down my hall and tell you, but most of them come through and just give them a good chance or an opportunity to do something. And that's what I think all my mentors did, is just gave me a chance. And I really like doing that.
Jess, I got 2 last questions for you, then we'll let Steven wrap us up here. Number one, these products are awesome. Where can listeners get information? What's your website?
Perfect. You're not going to make me cry. I think I can say my website without making me choke up. It's Planetary Design, singular, not designs, but planetarydesign.com is our website. And we just rebuilt it, so I'd love people to take a look. If they see anything we need to fix, let me know. But it's a great, pretty good website. And hopefully if they look around, they can see we have a lot of really fun products designed, and it's all coming out of Bonner, Montana.
That's awesome. Last question. Say somebody is stuck in just the ridiculous traffic on Reserve Street. Just the mind, just altering traffic. Billboard on Reserve Street, where you could say one thing to Missoula. If you could leave Missoula with one message, what would you put on that billboard?
Yeah. Don't waste time. Life is precious. Time is precious. I might get them off of Reserve Street, but you know, time, you don't know. You just enjoy every day for sure.
It's a good place to stop. Jess,
Thanks.
Thanks for moving back to Montana. Thanks for your work here. Appreciate you.
Very much. Thank you,
Awesome.
guys.
Thanks, man.